heading out this weekend to the National Collegiate Women's Wrestling Championship Regional Qualifier, which is a big step for the NCAA programs in working towards that NCAA championship that we're pretty close to. So we decided last spring to create a qualifier for the national championship, which is one of the first things that we've done, and I think in the full length of women's collegiate wrestling, even before it was just we started separating from the NAIA schools. So it's exciting. Now the national tournament has a little bit more prestige to it. It's a little bit more special because now you've got to qualify for it. So 4 regions, top 4 athletes in each weight class from each region will get to qualify. So we're really looking forward to it. We're in the same region as McKendree University, Lindenwood University, Schreiner, Fontbonne, and Westminster. So we've seen 3 of the 5. Westminster, Fontbonne are smaller, newer programs, so they only have a handful of girls. But we've seen pretty much all of our regional competitions, so we're feeling pretty good going into it. I'm excited because our region is with McKendree, and I keep saying it in practice and whatnot, is the road to a national championship is through McKendree, so why not be able to wrestle them one more time and get that look and that feel that we need to go into the national championship.
Yeah, you kind of already answered my next question, but you see your biggest competition is being McKendree. How many girls do you get to take with you, and do you expect all of them to qualify?
It's a little bit different than the men. The men, you're allowed 1 per weight class, so 10 guys. With the women, the collegiate, if you will, wrestling is still growing and it's still kind of that movement. We said that we are still going to allow 15 athletes to go to the regional tournament, and of that 15, no more than 2 per weight class, 15 total. I think there's some weight classes that are a little bit deeper. I fully expect to be able to take 13 to 15, qualify everybody for the national tournament, which I'm really excited for. I think it's puts us in a great position to really try to strive for that national championship that we want.
Questions?
So have you figured out a lineup? Are you kind of going day by day to wrestle up, or just trying to see, okay, we've got 2 really strong wrestlers in this class, we load up on that one, or?
Our starting lineup hasn't changed much. We have, Genesis Martinez at 101, Anya at 116, Marissa Gallegos at 123. 130 is kind of a toss-up right now between, our dual sport athlete, Jolynn Harris, and then you also have Nanan Aguilar. And Jolynn really had a great performance at McKendree University. She went 3-1, and then we just kind of pulled her out because she had 4 matches that day, and I thought it was enough for her. And 136 is you have returning national finalist Dalia. 143 is Kaylee Lacey, returning All-American. 55 is Zoe Grass. 70 is Tristan Kelly. 191 Isabeau Shellac. So those 9, if you will, starters without the addition of 109 are pretty solidified. Now it's kind of going through, and where we have 2-3 people in a weight class, we have to do some wrestle-offs. We kind of look at performance at past competitions. And normally in other years I can say, hey, we've had 5 or 6 different tournaments. This year it's real abbreviated. It's kind of what have they done currently? Have they beaten nationally ranked wrestlers? Have they been doing what they need to do? How's their weight management? It's a lot of different things. Ultimately it comes down to, who do I think can qualify for the national championship? I've said this in practice the past couple of days. Someone's going to be mad at me because I don't get to take them, but at the end of the day, the girls should still feel pretty fortunate that we get to take 15 and it's not just 1 per weight class.
In the past, you've talked about, kind of don't worry about the results too much. It's more on a personal note, like how hard are we trying, and how are you focusing on the little things? How have things been going the last couple of days of practice or the last weeks? Like what you've been seeing, is everybody at their best, or is it still to come? Or?
I think it's still to come. I don't want to have the girls peak at this weekend. Like, obviously, we want to win the regional championship. We want to be a regional champion. We want to get some head-to-head matchups against McKendree for the national tournament and seeding going into the national tournament. But I really want to treat this as a tournament to prep. We don't need to peak this weekend. It'd be nice to, but I'd rather peak in 2.5 weeks at the national championship. I mean, a good example is Dalia. She's going to get to wrestle Emma Bruntill for the 4th time in a year. We're 1-2 against her, so I'd really like to just get our hands on her again. We haven't wrestled her in a year, so it's nice to be able to just get that match, fill her out, and then lead into the national championship. Practice this week and kind of last week was the emphasis was positions and what's our go-to attack, what's our best position. If the match was on the line, you're in that true fourth match, in that third place, fourth place match, and you had to win. Where are you going? So that's what we've kind of been talking about. And just a lot of play wrestling, kind of keeping it loose. I don't want to throw any extra added pressure than it's already out there. Again, we talk about there's no pressure and pressure is made up, but the reality is there's going to be a little bit of stressors because, you do want to qualify. You do want to be one of those top 4 in our region to qualify for the national tournament.
From a play perspective, how are you feeling heading into the week?
I feel like everyone's pretty ready. I mean, we've been going over like sharpening our technique a lot more, and I feel like now we understand like it's getting down to the end of season now, and we got to sharpen things up to be ready to wrestle them next week or this weekend. But I think everyone's been like focused and like locked in and stuff for coming into the regionals this weekend.
Pressure's made up, but last year everybody goes to nationals, you get that flavor. Now it's you got to earn your spot. Does that put more pressure on? You just talk to the girls, hey, just go wrestle and wrestle the way you can?
I think there's probably a lot more stress on a couple of them right now just because, we are doing some wrestle-offs. We can't take everyone, and now we have a regionals, which we didn't have that last year. We kind of just, took our starting lineup and stuff. So now I do feel like everyone's like, okay, we need to sharpen things up. The best needs to go, and you need to qualify. So that probably does put a little bit of stress on them, but at some point they got to be like, it is what it is, and you just got to go out there and wrestle and do your best.
Obviously, like you said, you think you can, you want to go win it with McKendree in there. You've seen them, at times, there's sometimes that, like the extravaganza a few weeks ago, the morning, noon, and night tournament. Did that kind of give your kids a good sense of what it's going to be like for a regional, kind of that atmosphere of a tournament?
Yeah, I talked a lot about that when we were at McKendree. This is what it's going to exactly be like. It's funny. We're staying at the same hotel that we stayed at. We're going to kind of do the exact same things, eat at the same place, because in that way it's familiar. It's not coming into, and again, we talk about there's a little bit of stress. Maybe there's a little bit of pressure that they create on themselves, but the reality is nothing's new. We're going back to McKendree. And again, I was very fortunate, or very thankful that Sam, put together the scramble, the extravaganza, the jamboree, whatever we wanted to call it, because it gives us that individual tournament feel, right? All right, hey, weigh in 2 hours to rehydrate, fuel, warm up, feel good, and then all of a sudden, hey, wrestle, and then you might not wrestle again for another 45 minutes to an hour, where we've been doing these kind of dual meet schedules, and it's, a duel, and then right after that duel is, boom, you're up again, and then another duel, and you're up again. At least with a tournament, there's a little different downside. There's a little bit different strategy into a dual meet or into a tournament. A dual meet, we can kind of prep for somebody and know exactly who we're going to wrestle. At a tournament, sometimes it works out in our favor for you as an athlete because you get done with the round, and then the next round, that person doesn't have time to scout you out. I think it plays into a lot of our advantages. And again, getting to see McKendree last week, I think it's helped us. We know who we're facing. We've wrestled McKendree in the past 2 years, I want to say 4 or 5 times, right? We know McKendree's deep. We know who's at their weight class. There's no hiding it. Same on our end. There's no hiding who we have. I told Sam 2 weeks ago who I was taking. There's nothing to hide. So we know who we're going to face. We kind of have an idea of where we should be seated and just kind of fall. And again, just got to show up and perform.
Okay, I'm going to recycle, I think, last week's question of the week for you guys. Favorite road trip snack?
It's tough to wrestle.
Nothing.
Water.
I know their snack routine, so.
Yeah, Yonki knows our snack routine now. Hey, but in all honesty, people always think our wrestlers, they don't eat anything. These girls eat a lot, and I make sure they eat. And I mean that in a nice way. I make sure that they eat. The freshman girls, the first time we go on a trip, it's a night that way and that night or something, and I tell the girls, I'm like, all right, hey, we got to eat breakfast this morning, and they're shell-shocked. What do you mean I have to eat breakfast? We have weigh-in tonight. I'm like, because we're going to work out. You got to have energy to work out, and we got to work out to lose weight. So So, yeah, we can eat.
Okay, so what's your snack?
My favorite snack.
You just delayed long enough to think about this.
My favorite snack. I don't know. I like Sour Patch Kids or like gummy bears. That's my little like personal travel snack. I always pack some in my bag.
Probably fruit snacks or chips.